In this lesson, we'll continue painting our realistic skin for our Caucasian female by refining details we've added and adjusting our overall values and colors. So let's go ahead and dive back in. So in the previous lesson, we started refining these lips here on our female and really just kind of exploring some of the colors we needed to use for some of the shadows and mid values, mid-tones, and highlights. So up to this point, we've kind of used a layered approach of working on some of these different areas of the face. We started with the eyes, the ear, the nose, and the lips. So now we're just going to basically start refining everything holistically. We're going to start kind of touching up all these details all at once and start examining the skin on the form as a whole and adjusting our colors and values as need be. So the first thing I'm noticing just right out the gate is even though we've introduced some warm colors, she still feels a little bit cold, a little bit icy. And so we really want to warm the skin up overall. Now what I've done over here in my layers panel is I've just gone ahead and created a new layer which I've titled Refine. And this is just where we're going to just layer on some additional details and really start to tighten up and refine even further the details we've added. So again, her skin's feeling kind of cold, so I'm thinking I may want to just work in just a little bit of orange into the skin overall, just to kind of warm everything up just a little bit. So I'm just very loosely, very lightly with my stylus with my brush tip set to pen pressure sensitivity, just kind of working in a little bit of orange overall. We're going to want to bring in some of this warmer color right here, some of these reds and pinks. And I kind of want to blend them into this highlighted area right here on the skull. It's feeling just a little bit blown out. So I'm just kind of integrating some of that in. And just coming back down here to some of my highlight tones, I may want to grab just some different colors here to continue to kind of refine some of these highlights, adding some variety in there. And I'm just kind of trying to blend some different areas right now. Want her skin to feel smooth as well. So just bringing in some more of that light red. This area around the chin down here is looking a little rough. So again, I'm just using a hard round brush. And I've got it set to transfer over here in my brush panel with my opacity and flow set to pen pressure. You can use any kind of brush you want. You could use a soft round brush, but I find the hard round brush works great for me. I try not to get too overly complex with my brushes. And this area right over here on the head is feeling a little harsh. Kind of bringing in a little more green as well. So I'm just trying to kind of keep up this variety overall, just this variety of tones in the head. I don't want anything to feel too uniform. Just kind of blending. I feel like this red right here in the face is feeling a little harsh now that I've started to blend everything together. I don't want it to look like she got hit in the face or anything like that. So just kind of sampling from around and just blending everything in. Very nice. Now these shadows and these highlights on the neck, this is an area we really haven't worked on a whole lot, and it's feeling pretty harsh. The more I look at it, I just feel like it looks a little harsh. So we're just gonna kind of tone it down. Now the way I've got her head essentially posed is she's kind of looking kind of almost over her shoulder, not completely. She's kind of looking over sideways just a little bit. I'm thinking there might be a more prominent highlight down here. That's feeling pretty nice. And just thinking about this backlight over here as well. Pulling in some of these tones that I have on the side of the jaw here, bringing that into the neck. We're going to have a little bit of shadow up there as well, kind of in that jaw area. Alrighty, let's go ahead and zoom out to make a quick comparison. Just hiding the visibility of this layer. That's feeling a lot better. That's feeling really nice. Let's go ahead and kind of refine some of these details. One thing that's kind of bugging me is I feel like she's a little too cat-eyed, especially in this screen right, or the screen left rather, eye. So I may want to just kind of rein that in a little bit. Go ahead and adjust the size of my brush down just some. So I'm just kind of coming over, trying to readjust kind of how I have these eyelashes. Kind of re-sculpting the form there. Also bringing in a little bit more pink and red into that kind of that corner tear duct area. Just kind of trying to sculpt out that area a little more clearly, just to where it looks a little more defined. And this shadow right here above the eyelid still looks a little harsh since we last worked on it. So just kind of want to blend that a little bit more. May want to bring in some of this warm color from the ear as well. So just kind of making little tweaks here and there. That's starting to feel a little bit better. We'll continue to work on that as we go. And just coming over here to the nose, I feel like we could work in just a little bit more orange into our nose. Feel like those highlights right in that area feel a little bit too blown out. The highlights is such a hard thing to get the right balance. You just got to spend some time really playing with it, because you don't want the highlights to overpower your skin, because then you kind of end up with this kind of like, she'll start to look like a doll essentially. She'll look kind of a little bit too plasticky. Very nice. Let's go ahead and zoom out. That's looking a lot better. We made quite the change actually, just comparing our new refine layer to our detail layer. Very good. So now we're at a point where we're getting really close to really defining and refining all the details in our skin here. I'm really happy with the direction our skin tone is coming out as. And what we'd like to do just really quickly, let's go ahead and recap all these different layers and just see how we've built up our skin up to this point. So I'm just going to uncheck the visibility just for each one of these layers really quick. And we can just kind of see how we've built up our skin, just starting with that base tone, adding midtones, shadows, blending, adding some highlights, introducing some additional colors, some additional warmth. And we really just start detailing from that point on and refining those details. So what we'd like to do is basically make a merged copy of all of these layers and just really continue tightening up everything, really refining everything. And we're probably going to adjust a few little proportional issues just here and there, kind of tweak some of those. Now we want to preserve all these layers. We don't want to merge them themselves. So what we're going to do is make a merged copy. Now when making a merged copy, we don't want to include certain things like the palette or the background or even that default background. So with one of these selected, with one of these clicked on, we can go ahead and go to our keyboard and we're just going to hit Shift, Control, Alt, and E. And this is just basically compiles all those into one merged layer. So what we're going to do now is we're going to leave our skin blocking group where we blocked in all these different layers of skin. And you'll notice I've created a new group called Skin Detail. And this is just where we're kind of tighten up everything and really just refine everything to finish out our skin. So I'm going to grab this new merged copy. Let's drag it into that new group called Skin Detail. And while I'm at it, let's go ahead and expand that group. And I want to still keep the layer mask that I've had. That way when I am going in here and just tightening everything up, I don't go out around the edges of my head here. So let's go ahead and keep that layer mask. I'm just going to hold down Alt, drag that up there to that new merged layer. Let's go ahead and collapse our skin blocking layer. We'll hide the visibility of it. Let's turn on our background and turn on the visibility for our new group. Alrighty, so now we're ready to kind of start tightening up everything, continuing to refine little details here and there. The first thing I'd like to do is adjust a few little proportional issues that I'm seeing. I kind of would like to reduce the tip of her nose just a little bit, and I may want to increase the poutiness of her lips just slightly. And we can do this really easily without having to go in there and do a lot of painting. At this point, we just want to, tighten up and add little details without having to redefine everything. And so we're going to do this using Liquify. And Liquify is such a powerful tool, a time-saving tool in Photoshop. So let's go ahead and go up here to Filter. And down a ways, we can find Liquify. So let's go ahead and click on that. And this is going to just bring up our female subject right here in our Liquify panel. And let's go ahead and just zoom in a little bit and focus on this nose here. And we got some different tools over here. We won't go into all of these, just the ones that we need to use. The first one I'm going to use is this pucker tool. And this basically kind of pinches pixels and just information inward. And I might want to adjust my brush size over here to the right just a little bit. And just hovering over this nose here, I'm just going to tap a few times just to kind of reduce that tip of the nose and even this nostril here as well. You can kind of see that reducing in size. So I'm liking that a lot better. And I kind of want to increase the poutiness of the lips just a little bit. So we can use the opposite of that tool, which is the Bloat Tool over here to your screen left. And just tapping on the lips, we can kind of increase the poutiness of those lips just a little. So I'm kind of liking that just a little bit better. I may want to tweak that nose tip just a little bit more. Alright, I think that's going to work. Let's go ahead and commit to that by hitting OK up here. The Liquify tool is a really awesome feature in Photoshop. If you'd like to learn more about it, check out our Introduction to Photoshop course. Alright, so I'm still seeing some things in here that I want to fine-tune and really clean up. One thing I haven't done yet that I just forgot about was, let's go ahead and name this layer, and I'm going to call it just Skin Merge. That way we kind of know what we're working with as we add additional things to this group. So we're going to call it Skin Merged. So I'm looking at the skin overall, and I'm thinking we could maybe play around just with the overall brightness and contrast of everything. I may want to open up my curves and kind of tweak all that just a little bit. So I'm just going to go up here to Image, Adjustments, and it may be off screen, but we're going to select our curves. The shortcut for this is just Control-M on a PC. And we can really just kind of experiment at this point in our curve settings. And I'm just kind of trying to adjust the overall saturation of everything, kind of the brightness and contrast. And I'm not afraid of applying this directly to our merged layer because, again, we have all that information preserved, all those different layers of skin preserved in our skin blocking group. So I'm just kind of tweaking that slightly. All right, I like that. Okay. So now we can, again, we're going to continue just kind of detailing, making little adjustments here and there. So I'm just going to go ahead and zoom in and just kind of start to clean up little bitty areas. At this point, you could spend all day long really tweaking different little areas to get it just the way you want. I'm going to kind of I'm just focusing on the lips right now, kind of adjusting some little shadow issues, kind of cleaning up some of these highlights. I want there to be kind of a faint It's kind of a strong, thin highlight right above the lips. I want her lips to definitely have a nice glossy feel, kind of increasing some of these peak highlights on the lips. Again, I'm trying to be careful about my highlights. I don't want to blow everything out. And I feel like we're going to have a little bit of a reflected highlight right underneath the lips. And I'm kind of increasing that shadow, the darkness of that shadow, where the lips curve right before it meets that reflected highlight. So at this point, you can spend a lot more time just zooming into different areas and getting really, really fine-tuned with different parts of the face. So just kind of still tweaking the lips, kind of smoothing out a few areas. That's feeling pretty good. Let's go ahead. I'm noticing a little bit of a discrepancy right here on this tear duct. And I may want to just kind of clean up the overall shadow of that. It's feeling kind of flat right there. And so at this point, I'm not really going to my palette that I created early on. I'm just kind of sampling from within this overall head that we've painted. There's plenty of different values, different colors that I can grab. And this kind of doing it this way, sampling from within the head, is going to allow everything to feel a little bit more unified, feel a little bit more together. So basically at this point we can just continue going around and just fine-tuning, smoothing out little areas to our liking. Getting everything just the way we want it. So in the next lesson what we're going to do is basically add some final little details to the face. We're going to add some veins and some freckles, little blemishes like that, to really kind of pull everything together. Just add one extra level of realism to our skin. So we'll see you in that lesson.